What's up, everyone? Jordo here. And today I'm just going to kind of show you guys a little breakdown on how this whole cap breaker system works. I know a lot of you are probably just downloading the game, looking to make your new builds, and you hear about the cap breakers, and you're out here getting excited thinking you can make these crazy demigods, and that is true to a point. But I'm gonna tell you right now, none of your cap breakers are gonna bring you up to the high 80s and 90s, and it won't work like that at all this year. And it's not even that good. It's really based on your build, and no one's really figured out why it affects certain things certain ways on some builds and not the other. And I'll show you that here in a minute. What I would recommend on this game is, especially with your first build, because you got to grind the cap breakers, I would just make a build you can play on without them. That's going to be really good at however you want, whether it's a lock or a big or a post guy, a slasher, or normal guard, whatever you want to do. Make a build that can be good without the cap breakers, because it's going to take you a while to get them. But what I'm going to show you is when you do get them. All right, see how we made this build? These are just some test builds I made just to kind of really show you guys what's going on here. But you see this build can do almost anything on the screen. It's good in the paint, good on D. It just can't shoot, right? It's pretty fast. Where the cap breakers are weird and also cool, depending on the build, is on this build. I have a 32 3-ball. Now, before I get into this real quick, say on the speed, right? This build only goes up to a 65. If I only upgraded that to like a 58, then my cap breakers would be unlocked there, and I'd be able to use them to get up to the 65. But if the max speed this build can be the 65, you can't break the threshold that the game won't allow, right? But like this build can go up to a 99 block. If I went to an 88, I can get it up +1, +2, +3, +4, +5 to a 93. And same thing with the steel. You can only get one upgrade to 64. You know how that. So just so everybody's clear on that. But this is the spot where it's really good, but it's also frustrating and confusing, which I'll show you on the next build why it is the way it is. Right, so it's a 32 3-ball. We get +13, that puts it at 45, 56, 65, and then you add another 13 to 65, that's a 78 3-ball. So now this build can shoot. And you can also put it on your mid-range when you get more cap breakers. Depends what you want to do. You could use the shooting build specialization, which I'll show you guys in a minute how those work. They just give you more cap breakers eventually by hitting certain goals with your specialization. But on this build, you can get a 78 3-ball from a 32. This makes this big unbelievable. But now here we got a two-way slashing play, or playmaking slash, or whatever you want to call it, right? I made it the same way as the center. Has the option to shoot, but I didn't upgrade any of the shooting. I didn't put it in the build because I want to show you why these cap breakers are weird sometimes, and that's why you can't make a build anticipating the cap breakers, because you can't see until you get your first one anyways. That's why I say always make your first build playable without them. This one, 25 3-ball, right? Crazy in the paint, good playmaking, ball handler. I would probably put a playmaking specialization, but I'll show you what that is and after this part of the video. But yeah, it has defense, rebound, and the physicals are good. It's a good build, right? Now, you remember on the big, I think it was a 35 3-ball or whatever, it went up to a 78 with the 5 cap breakers, right? What the hell is this? Right? I had that big, I saw this YouTube video, and they said that you could make your not shooting player have a 78 3-ball, and then you go make a point guard, and you're like, oh, I'll just juice up the 3-ball. Don't worry about it. I'll use the cap breakers. Well, now it only goes up to 37, 44, 52, 61. So now on this build, instead of a 78 3-ball with all your cap breakers, you can only get up to a 68. That's fine. You can shoot 50% wide open from the corner, but that's not even worth it. That's your build's not gonna be able to shoot. You know what I mean? And you can't go past 5 options. It doesn't make sense. But if somehow I can upgrade my post control to in the 70s, there's no like rhyme or reason that I figured out why things are affected certain way. I've messed around with wingspans and heights and weights and like archetypes with the way I make my builds, and it's all that way. It's just random, I feel like. And maybe someone found something I didn't, but I'm just trying to show y'all what to expect. And again, I'm just hammering down to the point. Make your first build playable without the cap breakers, and you will have more fun on this game. You can always make another build later when you figure out the cap breakers on your own and how it works. I'm just here to give you this information early. Now we're just going to touch on the build specializations a little bit that I mentioned, and these also give you cap breakers. So on this build, we'll say you have to hit the requirement on overall to get each specialization, right? So this one I have to have high, 60 layup or dunk and dunk, or 60 close shot or standing dunk. And then for shooting, I have to have a 60 mid range and a 63 point to even be able to get that. And so or an and is important. But let's just say I went with the shooting one on this, right, just to get the cap breakers, even though it doesn't matter. We would never do this on this build because it can't shoot. So you need to be able to shoot to get the cap breakers for shooting. So let's actually just go to finishing, right? This is what it is, win 20 games, make 200 close range shots, win 50 games. Once you get to the 6th goal, you get a cap breaker. Then at goal 8, you get another one. And then you get a +2 finishing perk at 9. That's gonna take a while. Unless you got nothing going on, or you're a streamer, or you're just, you ain't gonna get this done anytime soon. So don't even plan on these. They should be not something like, for example, if you have a big and you want to get to a 92 rebound, you'll get an 87. Do not wait for the rebounding specialization to get your rebound up, because it's going to take you a long time and you get outboarded for a long time. Instead, use it on something else, like maybe getting your post control up or something, or defense if you want to get a higher block eventually. You can go to 84 to 88 with those or something like that. But yeah, so that's kind of how the specializations work. They're all of the same idea of goals. First goal is win 20 games, and then the second goal is a small amount of whatever that specialization is you have to score or do. And then win 50 games with teammate grade A- or higher. So that's how all of them work. They're all the same. Now I'm going to show you my build that I'm currently working on grinding with the cap breakers and why I chose to do it that way. As you can see here, games have been out 2 days. I had it a week early, so forgive me, but I got 4 builds. A little bit I didn't play, and I got a back end here that can do a little bit of everything in the park, and 5s because I play everything. I got my 5s guard, defense on it, can shoot, can dunk, can dribble, has a high pass act, it can do everything. It's one of my favorite builds I've made in 2K, actually. I'll show you this one in another video. Park guard, but here we're going to go to my center that I've been grinding the last couple days. So the reason I'm showing you this build, this is my center. All right, I'm going to show you how I'm using my cap breakers. This is a little peek at the build. It can do everything. It can score at every level in the paint. It can shoot from everywhere. It's got a good passing, especially if you play 5s. I put the passing up for 5s. If it was just a 3s big, I wouldn't put this past the 76. But I feel like if you make a big, you're going to use it in all game modes. So you might as well just put the pass back up. It doesn't, as you can see, it doesn't waste any space. I have good perimeter D. I have steal. I get interceptor. I get a high interior D. Good block. I'm going to probably use some cap breakers to get it up later. Eventually I have the 99 rebound. Again, not using my specialization on rebounding. Or I might have actually done it on this build with that because I'm cool with a 94 for now. Let me see what I did my specialization on. I did go rebounding on this one, but again, that'll reiterate on my point. I can wait for a 99. I'm doing great with a 94, and I don't think there's a difference between offensive and defensive rebounding this year. Offensive is cheaper, and that's what I went with. I'm not getting horsed on the defensive boards. Can do everything physically, right? But why I like this build, especially with the cap breakers, is if you look at this, in 3 cap breakers, I got a 50 speed with ball and a 70 ball handle. 55 speed with ball, or 50 speed with ball, yes. 50 speed ball, 70 ball handle. What I like about this is I have a build that's already, like I was saying before, already very playable. It can do everything. 84 block, I don't want to hear no hate on that because I'm telling you what, I'm averaging about 3 blocks a game in 5s, and I'm getting plenty of blocks in the park too. Horse and everybody. What I'm using on this build is I'm using my first 7 cap breakers to get me my ability to dribble the ball and be one of those glitchy centers that can do a little bit crazy stuff and have good dribble packages, and really no one's going to keep up with my 7-1 if he can dribble. Maybe some of those 7-4s, but they're not big enough to meet me at the paint or get my rebounds because all those 7-4s don't have rebounds. That's how I'm looking at it, how to take advantage of the meta, and I'm making my own kind of play style. With the specialization, eventually, I'll have a couple of those, and I'll have some more cap breakers unlocked from other stuff, like being in my crew and all that. I'll do a quick walkthrough of where you get cap breakers from. I'm not going to go back through the build specialization. But eventually, I'll get my 99 rebound, and it won't even, I won't really be missing out on many boards on the process. You know, if I had an 87, I'd be really getting outboarded by a lot of people until I got to a 92. And 92 is not even really good enough, especially if you got all these 7-4s out there. You got to be able to jump over them if you don't want to play that 7-4. So, where can you get cap breakers from? Is the next question people are asking. Well, if you look at season rewards, sorry I didn't claim these earlier. So, every season at level 40, you get a cap breaker. That's one spot. The next thing is a new feature, which I'll also explain to you guys in another video, is the crew. I was in a crew before, we were higher level. They wouldn't make me a VP because it wasn't people I really knew. I have some friends that just got the game and they're gonna start grinding. I want my friends in my crew. Feel free to send me a friend request. I'll invite you in here if you want to join this crew too. Because the more, you can have up to 50 and everybody gets the XP from other people playing. So it's never bad to have big crews. What you can do here is if you look at level 8, you get a cap breaker. At level 15, you get a cap breaker. At level 22, you get a cap breaker. And at level 30, you get a cap breaker. There's already tons of crews that are at level 30. I am not sure if that is for the season or for the whole year. I'd imagine each crew resets at the end of the season. But you have to be in the crew for 7 days. I just made this crew a couple days ago. So as you can see, I still can't get my cap breaker until I'm in it for 2 days and 13 more hours. So you can't just be hopping around, joining crews and trying to get the cap breakers. It's not going to work like that. It won't allow that. The last spot you can get cap breakers is the build specialization. We went over this in part of the video, but I'll go over it quick again. Right, so you got to do all these goals. Goal 6 is a cap breaker. Goal 8 is a cap breaker. And goal 9 is, goal 7 and goal 9, you get the +2 perk maxes, +1. But those are only for your specialization. So if you get the cap breaker, you can't go use it on shooting because it's the rebound specialization. So that's like where you got to kind of pick when to use your specialization on what. It has to be something that you can do on that build. You don't want to try to get a cap breaker on defense if you have a guard that has a 60 perimeter D and that's it. You're not going to get the steals and blocks needed. Same with the rebounds. You're not going to be able to use it to get your rebound up if you have a 40 rebound because you have to get rebounds to get the progress. Another place, like everybody knows, is rep is really important. Game's been a while. I took a couple days off here and there, so I'm not as high up as I was hoping I'd be starter 3 by the time the game dropped for everybody else, but or at least starter 2, you see all these guys, they just don't get off the game. Good for them. I wish I had time to do that. I'm jealous of them. But you get your first cap breaker from rep at rookie 5. Rookie 5. Then the next one you get is at starter 3. And then you get 3 at starter 5. And then is what starts to get crazy. You get a couple here at veteran 2, and then you get a couple more at +3 at legend 1. Not many people are gonna hit legend this year, so you can't really expect to be getting those. Some people will, and if you are, good for you. I know I won't, because I play other games when they come out, and I'll probably get back into the heavy veterans. Yeah, I'll end up right around here, veteran 3 to 5, maybe hit legend 1. But those are where you can get all the cap breakers from. Another place you can come in and get some cap breakers is the lifetime challenges. So what you come in is you go to quest challenges, city challenges, you can go to lifetime challenges. You see I've already done 40, almost 50 of them. You can see the reward for each 10 challenges you do. Once you get 100, you get another cap breaker. Once you get 200, you get another cap breaker. Then you get, it's going to be real hard to get 250 to 300 because the challenges are playing a bunch of different game modes and consecutive days, and I never remember to collect my daily reward every day. Sometimes it's, I hop on, I play, and then it's been 24 hours and I lose my progress on this. But if you want to stay on top of stuff, you can grind all this stuff. But it's just a bunch of different things and grinding challenges. And so that's my little breakdown on how cap breakers work. And I hope this is able to help you guys new into the game and try to kind of figure out how things are working and what you want to make on your first build. Thanks for tuning in.